Rakugo, where did the feature phone battery life go? 3G ends, but flip phones still live on. Well then, it's your master storyteller speaking. There are things that suddenly feel precious the moment people say they're ending. First, long weekends. Second, store closing sales. And third, 3G service. Master, this is huge. Docomo's 3G, FOMA, is ending. Well, yes, it was bound to happen eventually. AU and SoftBank already ended theirs earlier. Docomo is the last one. So that means all feature phones are dead, right? That's where people jump too fast. What's ending is 3G service, not the physical shape of a flip phone. Wait, really? Really, there are foldable phones that run on 4G, so-called garaho. They look like old feature phones, but inside they're kind of mini smartphones. So you can't judge by appearance. Exactly. When you judge people or phones by looks, nothing good comes of it. But Master, what happens if someone just leaves a 3G contract as is? That's the scary part. It may be automatically canceled, and you could lose the phone number. And if Dad's old line happens to be the main line for the family discount, the whole family can get dragged into it. Even if he barely uses it? Precisely because he barely uses it. Sometimes the person who never talks still holds the family wallet string. Wow, the representative mobile line is like the head of the household. That's right. He doesn't say much, but once he's gone, the house stops functioning. But Master, old feature phones were great. The battery barely drained. There you go. Old phones had battery life. Modern smartphones start the day at 100%. And by evening, they're already making the face of, I can't do this anymore. That's so true. I get anxious without a mobile battery pack. Back then, you carried a phone. Now, you carry a battery pack for the phone. Master and servant have switched places. That's a great quote. It's not a quote, it's reality. Big screens, videos, SNS notifications, maps moving around, 5G blazing. Of course it gets hungry. 3G, 4G, 5G, everything keeps advancing, but battery life doesn't feel much easier. More Gs, more speed, but not easier. Heavier, if anything. That's civilization for you. What about satellite communication? Won't that solve everything? Listen, satellites are impressive, but they're not magic. They can help in mountains or disasters, but they're not going to solve your smartphone's hunger problem too. Satellites have it rough too, huh? Don't overwork the sky. First, you should review your settings. Master, I was also surprised to hear I mode is ending. It was still around? That's the point. What people thought had ended ages ago was still alive. Not a fossil from another age. There were real active users. That makes me kind of emotional. Don't. Before getting sentimental, check the contract. If it's still 3G, write down the contract. Switch to 4G or 5G. Keep the memories, but don't lose the number. More than anything, I do miss the era when batteries lasted. I totally get that. Modern smartphones are smart, but by evening, they're starving. They should learn from old feature phones and work quietly for 3 days. Master, give us one final line. All right, 3G is ending, but that does not automatically mean foldable phones are ending. What's ending is a generation, not feature phones themselves. 3G service is ending, but feature phones are not disappearing. It's not the handset that vanishes. The contract is the issue. And that's all, folks. Now, from here, the Master will give a news explanation. Please stay with us if you'd like. What happens when Docomo 3G FOMA ends? Will feature phones disappear? Notes on iMode ending and the 4G 5G era. If 3G ends, does that mean all feature phones are over too? Many people think so, but that is slightly off. The key point this time is not the shape of the device, feature phone versus smartphone, but whether the contracted network line is 3G. Even a foldable phone can still work if it supports 4G, the so-called garaho. On the other hand, if a 3G contract is left unchanged, there is a risk, as pointed out in the article, of automatic cancellation and losing the phone number. And it may also affect family discounts or shared billing groups. 3G shutdown. Docomo is the last one. The generation shift is complete. Already, KDDI, au, and Okinawa Cellular ended 3G in March 2022. SoftBank ended 3G in July 2024. With this Docomo FOMA shutdown, the major carriers' 3G shutdowns are finally complete. Docomo being the last may reflect maximum consideration for users. In reality, it is not uncommon for families to still have one old contract line left. 3G ends does not mean all feature phones end. This is where people get confused. Common misunderstanding: foldable phone equals 3G equals unusable. Reality: some foldable phones support 4G. Even smartphone-shaped devices may still be on an old 3G contract. So what matters is not the appearance, but the contract and communication standard. 3G, 4G, 5G. Why leaving it unchanged is dangerous. It may affect not only the phone number, but also family contracts. If a 3G contract is left as is until service ends, it may be automatically canceled, and possible consequences include losing the phone number. If it is the main line for a family discount, family calls may be affected. If it is the representative line for consolidated billing, the billing group may be affected. Older shared plan groups may collapse. This is especially important when an older parent's long-held number is serving as the main family line. Even if the person says, "I barely use it," the impact can still spread to the whole family. I mode was still active? A surprise for many. Many people feel, "I thought I mode had ended ages ago." In fact, the smartphone era has lasted long enough that younger generations may not even know what I mode is. The fact that the service still remained means there were still real users, and it shows how carefully Docomo handled the transition. Feature phones had amazing battery life. Why modern smartphones struggle to last a day? This is where many people strongly relate. Feature phone era. Small screens, low data usage, less constant app syncing, more limited use cases. Batteries often lasted several days. Modern smartphones. Large screens, high resolution, constant communication, SNS, notifications, background processing, video viewing, GPS, high-speed 4G, 5G communication, camera processing, and AI processing. If it lasts one day, that's already good. Mobile batteries become standard. Communication technology has advanced from 3G, 4G, 5G. But from the user's perspective, the honest feeling is often, it got faster, but it didn't get easier on battery life. Battery life remains a major unresolved issue. What about 4G, 5G, and satellite communication? Going forward, beyond improvements in 4G, 5G quality, the use of satellite communication will also become a topic. But this needs to be organized properly. 4G, 5G, main everyday connectivity. Satellite communication, supplemental use, mountain areas, disasters, dead zones, etc. 3G, a generation being retired after finishing its role. Satellites are promising, but they are not a universal replacement overnight. Also, even if satellite connectivity expands, that does not automatically solve the smartphone battery problem itself. What you should do now, practical steps. Don't end the 3G shutdown story with, "That's nostalgic." Contract confirmation is the important part. Checklist. Is there any 3G contract line left in your family? Is the main/representative line still on an old contract? Is a foldable phone actually 4G compatible? How should family discounts billing groups be restructured after switching? Parents and relatives' phones are especially easy to overlook, so it is worth checking once. Summary: Docomo's 3G FOMA shutdown is not simply the story of old phones ending. It is a practical contract issue that may affect phone numbers, family discounts, and billing groups. At the same time, it is also an opportunity to reevaluate the strengths of the feature phone era, long battery life, and the value of a foldable phone being enough. Even as 4G, 5G, and satellite connectivity advance, the battery issue remains substantial. Communication evolved, but perhaps what people truly value now is not only speed, it is also the value of being able to use something safely and for a long time. There's no such thing as too many likes and subscriptions.